Is Personal Trainer Talk with Doug and Corey from Body Design University. I am back with Mr. Blake, Johnny Gonzalez. Thank you so much for sitting in for me last week. You guys had a good Q&A. What's up, Doug? Was it pretty good?
Johnny just in his own special way just brought the heat to it, man. He just put me on the spot, and he did a great job.
Well, look, he always brings the heat, so I'm not surprised by that. Guys, today we have an incredible personal trainer talk lined up. Again, a bunch of questions that have come in, everything from, gaining muscle to starting your personal training business to, how many years experience to be a personal trainer to, all kinds of good stuff. And then we've got a couple things that we want to just kind of talk about when it comes to personal training success today. And so in just about 4 minutes, we've got a bunch of people already dropping in here. I see a bunch of folks. Let me just go ahead and let's just go ahead and bring these folks in. But we've got a great lineup today. Remember, this personal trainer talk, we're going to start right at 2:00. This is really all about helping personal trainers all over the world. No matter where you're at, this is for you if you are or want to be a personal trainer. That's what this talk is all about. So every Wednesday at 2:00, Doug and I, who have been personal trainers and in this industry for a long time, are hopefully going to share some wisdom with you when it comes to becoming a successful personal trainer. And what that lineup could look like are questions about becoming a personal trainer, or if you've been a personal trainer for a long time, we're here to help. So I see everyone dropping in. Welcome, Diana. Welcome, Perez. Welcome, everyone. Sylvania, Angel, welcome. So we're going to give everyone a few minutes to click on the link. If you see this post, there should be a link where you can join in. And if you have a question, you're going to be able to ask that live. We're going to have a lot of fun with that today. And if you don't have a question, you could just chill, hang tight, and listen in. Thanks for being a part of this. Couple things, little housekeeping before we get started. We have a live course. It's literally hands-on, everything you can think of, from advanced nutrition, exercise science, exercise demonstration, phone skills, marketing skills, sales skills, you name it. September 13th is day one. It is a 2-week intensive that you do not want to miss. I think we have 5 seats left, something like that. We take no more than 25 students at a time. So I think we have about 5 seats left. If you already have your NASM or your ACE personal training certification, but you feel like you need just a little bit more, you don't feel 100% ready to either start your business or become a successful personal trainer inside of somebody else's gym, come spend 2 weeks with Doug and I here in Atlanta, Georgia. It'll be one of the best decisions that you make in becoming a successful personal trainer. So want to throw that out there. We're going to mention that all the way up until the time that we start this next live course, but we do this every 2 months. Next live course, September 13th. A lot of the students come in from all over the world, staying at Airbnb. We have shuttles running around the clock where we could pick you up from the airport, no charge, and bring you to your Airbnb. And we pick you up every morning for class. We make it really easy to come to Atlanta. And one of the things that we've heard over the years from our students and why it's been so successful is we take them out of their element. So wherever you live, whether you're in the UK, you're in Mexico, you're in Canada, you're in California, Michigan, wherever you are, sometimes it takes getting out of your environment and coming into an environment that is nothing but growth. And for 2 weeks, we go hard. We go really hard to prepare you to become successful. So throwing that out there. And then one other thing, we are running a promotion on the thumb drive. If you've heard about that, you heard us talk about that. That ends this week. All of the thumb drives are going to be gone. So if you're interested, take a look at that. So that is that. It is 2:00 here, Doug.
Wow.
Eastern. It is time. It's time to get this show on the road. Are you ready?
I am.
So what's it like down in Florida? I mean, it's cooking here in Atlanta, Georgia right now. So if it's hot here, it's got to be blazing down in South Florida.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it is. It's pretty interesting. It doesn't happen as often as as I remember, but I remember some summers like this. And yeah, it's cooking. It's
I went
cooking
down.
and raining. Just
Now, Doug, as you know, I grew up in South Florida. I had the really tough time growing up because I grew up in the Florida Keys. So I was
yeah,
just really,
South Florida.
yeah. So I was, and I remember it being really hot. But for those of you that have not been to Florida in a while, I went down to Florida for the first time. There was a little break, but I went down there about 4.5 years ago, something like that, in July, and I just remember saying, I don't ever remember it being this hot. I don't know if it's because I'm not a kid anymore, but I remember it being so hot with having my shirt off, and it was still it was just so hot. I just sat there
Brutal.
and it just would
It's
sweat.
brutal. Yeah.
It's
Yeah, but it's
pretty
good.
warm.
It's good for the plants though. We both garden, so it's been good for that for sure.
So for those of you that don't know, Doug has been gardening for a long time, but I just started not too long ago and got all kinds of stuff growing. We're going to share some pictures and talk a little bit about that. But okay, personal trainer talk. Here we go. We have questions, guys. Thanks for being. I see everyone dropping in. Thanks for being a part of the session here. If you have a question, you can type it into the chat and let us know that you have a question, and then we'll bring you on live. You could ask the question. We could have a cool conversation about it. But we're going to start off.
Let's go.
We're going to start off with Agwan Allen, and he is sent in this question from East Africa, and he basically says, Kampala, wherever that's at. He says, how best can someone become a great personal trainer with zero experience? How best can somebody become a great personal trainer with zero experience? So, Doug, go ahead.
Wow. I'm sure there's a fair number of folks that would, I mean, that's about as general a question as you can get, right? Well, look, I mean, there's going to be a couple of components, obviously, but the two main elements that you really have to, and it's a skill, right? It's skill development. You've got to understand the marketing and sales components of that business component, and then you got to know your science, from anatomy, kinese, nutritional science. So that covers those two broad, kind of, you want to look at it like that, two broad areas that if you can develop those basic skills of being able to call people on the phone, bring them in for a discussion, and then sell them on your service, and then provide great service and get them results, I'm not sure the equation gets much more difficult than that. By the way, each one of those variables that I just mentioned has its own sort of, I guess you would say, a subroutine of skills that you need to develop. But yeah, I think that's a pretty good broad overview, and I'm sure you have a lot to add to that.
Yeah, this is what I found, Agwan, is that this is going to sound really simple, but it's just so true. Right now, we're actually recruiting. We're looking for a rock star personal trainer, by the way. Anyone out there around this world that thinks that they have what it takes to be like the best of the best and want to join our team, just reach out, because I'm thinking about this, because we're actually recruiting a trainer right now. And you would think we've got the pick of the litter, right? We've got hundreds of trainers coming through our personal training certification course. But it's not, we don't pick the trainers that are just, they have degrees in exercise science or master's degrees, or they have, their NASM or their ACE certification. Now they have to have the training, they have to have the education. But I'll tell you, in all my time in doing this, what I found, somebody that has zero experience and then becomes a great trainer is truly the trainer that has the heart. And I know it just sounds silly. It's just like cliche or whatever you want to call it. But the truth of the matter is that this business is all about having a burning desire to help others. It really is. I mean, you have to have that. And if you have that, you're going to become a great trainer. If you have that, plus the tenacity and the persistence not to give up until you have a client list, because that's hard for a lot of trainers, is that first period where you've got to build up the clients and make ends meet, and eat the ramen noodles and be really tight on your bills and things like that. But if you can make it past that, and your heart is such that you just want to, you just feel so confident that you want to help others, you're going to become a great trainer. That's just, people feel that. They really do. And we've had trainers join the team, over the years where they've had all this education and, their heart is just not there long term. They might be thinking, "Oh, I'm just going to do this for a short period of time." The clients feel that. That this is just a stepping stone. If you want to be a great personal trainer and you want to do this, it's got to be, this is what I'm going to do for my life. Now, that doesn't mean that you actually have to be on the gym floor training forever. You can put together a plan where you're going to be a trainer, but then you're going to, maybe own a studio, or you're going to do online training, or while you're doing training, you're doing other things. We've used examples in the past, somebody that I've known that have been a personal trainer and then did investments on, 401k and other things, or real estate while they were still being a personal trainer. They're building up their net worth so they could retire at one point. Whatever that is. But this is all I have to say to you. When you ask how best can someone become a great personal trainer, it's just know first that this is what you want to do. You want to help and serve others. There's no question in your mind that this is what you want to do. And then just never give up. Just never give up. Have the heart. So I know that's probably not what you're looking for as far as the checklist. Get your certification and get trained in this and get trained in that and have a great website and all these things. But like I said, I've seen some trainers really qualified that had the knowledge and the skill. Others that just look like you. I mean, you're like, you look at this guy or this girl and you're like, they're super fit and they're just like the epitome of what a trainer should look like. But that's not it. If you have those things, plus you have the heart, then that's when you become a rock star. If you look the part and you have the knowledge and you have the heart, then you go a long way. But if you have the heart, that's what it's all about. You have the enthusiasm for helping others. Doug, that's all I got for him on that.
What about living the lifestyle and living the part? What do you think about that?
Yeah. Gosh, I remember when I was in the grind and everything from starting just training clients one-on-one to opening up my first location. It's just, unless you've been there, and for those of you that have been there out there that are listening in, you know what I'm talking about. I mean, living the part of a trainer at different points, it's like, of course, you don't want to like tell your clients to eat healthy and then you're just, not eating healthy, or tell your clients to get rest and you're not sleeping, and, you're not living it, because then you don't feel, you'd be like a hypocrite. You'd be like, you don't feel good about coaching. So you got to live the part. But I'll tell you, living the part when you're starting as an entrepreneur. Now, if you go get a job somewhere, that's going to be much easier. But if you're starting your business, man, that is tough. It really is. It's worth it. It's worth every minute. That entire journey is worth it. I promise you that. But it's really tough. I remember not being able to work out for a period of time. And I say not being able to, it's just because at one point I remember struggling so hard that, I couldn't pay my rent and I was behind on a bunch of bills. And I was like, I've got to put every minute that I have into getting new clients or serving the clients that I have so they don't go until I get to, financial break even. And, so there's times where it's really tough, but absolutely, you got to live the part. Once you create a system and you establish a schedule and a system, then you got to be the role model. And it's so much more exciting. I know it was for me, and I hope it is for you guys when you're sharing and coaching others. When you're doing it, you're sharing it with conviction, because it's what you're doing. Here's what I recommend for breakfast, because it's what I had for breakfast. Here's what I recommend for working out, because these are some of the exercises that I do. So yeah, Doug. Did that drum up anything else?
Dude, that's I remember I used to train lots of professionals, so lots of doctors, obviously. And I remember one cardiologist. He was a interventional cardiologist, so he operated on people. and the irony is that he smoked 5 packs of cigarettes a day. He had a potbelly dinner. And it was sort of ironic that he was getting training and some nutritional advice, but he was able to, disconnect his lifestyle from what he did for work. Now, of course, the people he was dealing with, they were they're knocked out. They're right. But for trainers, and the reason I brought that up is because for a trainer, the development of passion for doing this and helping people, we throw it out that we just want to help people, but to develop that and to have that as a sort of an internal component of what you do every day, it's significant. You have to be doing, or at least I found that for myself and trainers that I've dealt with, you've got to have something in your life, meaning the lifestyle itself, that actually drives you forward and gives you that confidence and comfort to be able to tell people, look, it's not 2 meals a day, it's 4, 5, 6, and have a passion about doing that. That is a powerful, I believe, that is a powerful driver to get people to get that buy-in.
Absolutely.
Wouldn't you say that the buy-in that clients have for what you're telling them is key to this?
Yeah, I mean, think about it this way. It's the enthusiasm. You have a lot more enthusiasm that you share about something when you're doing it, and it's made you feel good. Like, what, I don't know, Doug, when we exercise and we get to train together every time you're in town, but when I get done working out, I just feel good. I feel great. So knowing that you're doing that with clients, it's just huge. So look, that answers your question. Have heart, just make sure that you want to make it happen. And that's really it. And,
it's a good question.
Yeah. And look, there's all kinds of opportunity in this business. For those of you that are listening, that are entrepreneurs, you still have to have the heart that you're coming at this from a place of serving others, and, income and other things will follow. So, Diana Herrera from Orlando, Florida. Diana. Oh, Diana's on here with us. Cool. Diana, I am going to buzz you in here. I'm going to send you a request, Diana. You could unmute yourself, and I got your question here. Go ahead and fire away.
I'm sorry. Can you repeat it again, please?
Yeah. Hey, Diana, we have your question here, and just wanted you to go ahead and ask it with us. We'll have a conversation about it.
Yeah. Give me 1 second. I'm working right now, just trying to listen to you guys.
Oh, okay. Well, look, Diana, if you're working right now, don't sweat it. I'm gonna handle this for you, okay? And you could pipe in or just throw your hand up, but I'll bring you back in. But Diana is asking, how many years of experience do I need to be a personal trainer? How many years of experience? So Diana, the reason why I would want you to pipe in on this is just to clarify, when you say how many years of experience do I need to be a personal trainer, are you talking about how many years of experience do you need exercising and eating healthy? If that's the case, basically you can pipe in here. If you see that notification, you can unmute yourself and jump back in and clarify that for us.
Sure. Well, you already answered the question when you were starting to talk. Just I was trying to, the same question that you did before, like if I need experience for be a personal trainer, but I already have the answer. It's okay.
Okay, great. Awesome, Diana. So just kind of elaborate on that a little bit, is that, you, to become a successful personal trainer, you do have to have lived the life. Like, you have to be living the fit, healthy lifestyle, exercising, eating healthy, at least that's my recommendation. But how long do you need? How many years? I don't think you need years, honestly. I think even if you had, 6 months, if you went through some type of transformation, whether you lost 20 pounds or you put on 5-10 pounds of muscle, you just feel great. And you found your vibe. You like, this is what I want to do. That's all I think you need. It's not something where you have to be exercising for 5-10 years and now you want to become a personal trainer. Does that help? Sure. But it's not required. Like I said earlier, it's all about having the heart to serve others. And if you have that, as long as you are living the lifestyle, I think that's all that matters. Doug, anything you want to add to that one?
Yeah, I would say just from a technical standpoint, you don't need, quote, any experience. Of course, if you were actually looking for a particular job in a big box gym as a for instance, they may ask that you show some previous experience working with clients as well. But from the standpoint of actually getting into the field, no, you don't need experience. It'd be the same with any other field where if you got out of school, for instance, you'd be looking either for an internship or a job, and you'd have no experience there as well. So same thing with training. It just helps, as Corey was saying, to be yourself, living a lifestyle, training, eating well. It's one of the reasons why it's not a bad idea. And we tell this to our students during a live course as well, that, if you can get either an internship or some time doing some floor training in a big box gym, man, that's a great idea. Any experience that you can get, even if it's just training with your family, even as a, for instance, anything that allows you to interact and engage the human body in exercise performance, biomechanics, things like that, that will give you some of the experience that would be helpful if you then decide to go actually get a job for it.
Yeah. And Diana, keep in mind that that's just talking about the experience, not the education. Of course, for those of you listening, we would highly recommend, if you haven't already, to get your nationally accredited certification. Perez, I see your question here. I'm going to get to you in just a second. Hang tight with us. But you get the certification, and then look, I would hire, and we hire people, it seems like every couple weeks, I would hire a trainer with no experience that has fire, that has enthusiasm, has a great attitude, and train that trainer before hiring somebody with a master's degree or even 5-10 years of experience. A lot of times what I find is that because there's not a whole lot of great training programs out there, if somebody's got 5 years experience, but maybe have created bad habits, or they never got really good training, it's harder to kind of train. So truly, we search for people that have the attitude that we're looking for, and then we train them around everything else. As long as they have the heart, they practice what they preach, they live it, then that's what we're looking for. So I hope that helps. So next question real quick, we're going to get over to Rick. This is Rick Corngay from Washington, D.C. He has got a question about, see if he's in here with us. No, about starting his business. And it's pretty much, like how to start personal training business. Rick, there's a lot to this, and Doug, if I stir up anything, you could jump in here. But basically, depending on where you are in the journey, if you get this, join us. Clarify. Certification, step one. You have to have a really good foundation, and certification does not make you a great trainer, but it does give you an acceptable level of knowledge to work with others. And that's our position on it. So step one, make sure you get the certification. Starting your business, of course, then you're going to get your liability insurance. You've got to get a website. You've got to get the operating system. You've got to get your ad campaigns running, all those things. So wherever you are, Rick, if you have a specific question, come on, join us on this talk, and we can have a conversation about it so I can dial it in specifically to exactly where you are. But that's a great question. And there's tons of trainers out there ready and getting ready to start a business. I love questions like that, but just come on, be a little bit more specific with that. Doug, is there anything else you want to add to that?
No, I mean, when all is said and done, there's so many moving parts that we would have to know. I would assume somebody like that is just going, I'd like to be a trainer. How would I start a business? And hasn't even moved forward with that first thing you said, which is the certification process. So, yeah.
Yeah. And it's, there's all different types of personal training businesses too. Now, a lot of people are just starting online. Some people are starting live in person. Some people want to start a personal training business in the, outdoors. So bring that to us. Be as specific as you can with your questions, and we're going to knock them out. Okay, Perez, I'm coming over to you. I'm going to send you a request, Perez, to unmute yourself so you could tell us where you're from and what question do you have?
Hello. Hi. My name is Jerica.
Hello. Welcome.
Hey.
I was actually just inspired to kind of share something based on the previous female that had a question. I can't remember her name right now because I'm driving.
Okay, great. Was that Diana, I think?
Yes. I just I just want to say that I know certification is important, and I really appreciate what you guys are doing. Like I really want to get certified because I know that it's important. But I lack the funds right now. But I started teaching online April 1st, and I use the Moxie platform. And I have a client, my sister, and I'm using all the resources I can. Like I just learned through Facebook on your page the lateral movement, the difference between extending the arm slightly forward or behind instead of straight, up. And I practiced it as I watched the video, and it, I was like, wow, what a difference. So I know that I stand to benefit, but if you have the desire to help, don't allow not being certified to hold you back either, because time goes, and you don't want to live in regret or waste. And so that's what I did. I just dived in, came up with a name, Body Go Movement, and I'm doing what I love. So just wanted to share that with everybody.
I'm sorry. What was your name again?
Jerica.
Jerica, where are you from?
Jerica.
I'm Dominican, born and raised in New York, and now living in Florida, Miami.
Oh, okay. Miami,
nice.
Florida. Okay, great. Thank you so much for participating and sharing that. You make a really good point. And, I think it goes along the line of, as long as you really want to help others and you're excited about it, I could hear the passion when you talk about this. I will add and say, Jericho, that we need you to do whatever you need to do to get your certification. We do. And what I mean by that is that you're absolutely right that it's not required. It's not regulated by Miami, Florida or the US or anything like that. But that little video that you shared that you learned a little something from, could you imagine what it would be like if you went through a really organized course? And the reason that Doug and I endorse certification and more, not just certification, but the training, is that when you go through this process of learning all these different things, you develop an understanding of the human body, anatomy, kinesiology, what to do, what not to do. So you're not only a really effective trainer and getting the best possible results, but you're also a very safe trainer, and you're keeping your clients safe. We would love nothing more than to help someone like yourself that is passionate about this and is limited by funds to get started. So if there's anything that Doug and I can do to help you in Miami, Florida, get your certification, I would like the money not to stand in the way. Reach out to somebody on our team, let them know that you came on to this talk, mention my name, and we'll figure out a way. If you really desire to get an acceptable level of knowledge and a certification, we'd like to help you do that, if that sounds good.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure. So thanks for being a part. Thanks for your feedback and piping in on that last question.
Thank you.
So Doug, she's so right, because, and we know this, me and you have talked about this for years, certification doesn't make a trainer. It just doesn't. But I will tell you this. I don't know how long, it was before I got my certification, but you know what it did for me? I don't know if it did this for you or any of your multiple degrees that you have. But when I got my certification, it basically gave me a sense that I was actually more effective. I know I wasn't, that I knew what I was doing. Nothing really had changed, like what I had known the month before, 6 months before. Of course, I learned some things, but it told not only the people, my peers, that I have an acceptable level of knowledge, but it also, I don't know. I think that was probably the first test I ever passed in my entire life. So maybe it was just, maybe it was just that. And it's funny, but you pass things that you're really interested in. And I really needed it. I wanted to be legit. And so yeah. I did that. But
the reality is that, the field, when we call it, look, I've you know, I've been in this game for more than a hot minute. You know that, and you know, we're talking how many years ago? Wow. You know, when I first got into this, there was the American College of Sports Medicine. There was ACSM, and that was really the only significant organization out there. And nobody, I mean, I got the certification, of course, because I thought that, and I'm an academic, so for me, it's just par for the cost. But I would talk to my, you know, I've got a couple older brothers, and one is a doctor, and we would talk about, you know, the necessity for getting some level of formal education. It doesn't matter what the field is. It doesn't matter. And of course, I would always say, nah, I know how to do this stuff. I'm a bodybuilder, right? I know how to train already. And the answer was, yeah, I actually already knew, quote, how to train. But the certification was a formalized, structured way that allows an individual to move forward in the acquisition of knowledge. That does not necessarily mean you're going to use it in your, we talk about this all the time, don't we?
Yeah. Yeah.
You create what's called a toolbox, and all the trainers out there, if you've been doing this for a while, you know what I'm talking about. For those that are not training, you got to understand that as a trainer, you have a toolbox because you're dealing with different people, and not every human being is the same. So we have to have the ability to pick out the right screwdriver, right? A Phillips head, not a flathead, right? You need to pick out the right pliers from your toolbox. Certifications are designed by design to provide all of this data and information to help you to broaden your toolbox, right? So it's not that you're going to follow any particular methodology, although all the NCCA accreditations, they all say the same thing, right? Use our system. Yeah, sure. But that's just not going to happen. So Jerica, what we always tell folks is, you're going to do what you got to do. Absolutely. But yeah, we'd love to be able to help and assist and get you and other folks to see the validity of working towards it. And then you use those elements that make sense in your particular business. And that's the beauty of what we do, right?
Yeah. I mean, look, Jericho, you're still on here with us. If you're hearing this, reach out. Let's figure out a way to get you this training. There's so much more to it, and you'll be so much better of a trainer. You'll get better results. Matter of fact, why don't you come up to Atlanta, Georgia in September, spend a couple weeks with Doug and I and 20 other trainers from around the world. You'll be amazed on what you go back to Miami with. But I do want to add something to this, and this is not often talked about, because sometimes we just don't think this way. But from a business standpoint, remember, the more that you put down on the table, say if you're playing poker, the more that you put in, the harder it is to get out. And if you're not investing, you know, or putting money down, it makes it easier when times get really tough. Just kind of, you know, put the tail between the legs and kind of run the other way. And it's going to get really tough. It doesn't matter if you're going to get a job somewhere or if you're going to start your own business. I think the more that you put into getting trained, the more that you put into investing in working with clients. I remember at least a dozen times over the last, now it's 22 years. I can't even believe it. 22 years I've owned and operated a personal training company and companies. And I wanted to get out multiple times. I have. My heart has always been in it, but I couldn't because I was so vested in it. And I'm glad that I never did, because we wouldn't be where we are today. But you know, at the end of the day, the more that you put in, the more that you put down on the table, the more conviction that you have. And then that it just prospers, because you've taken this time to go through your study. You've taken this time to, you know, sit down hours and create this website, and you've taken this time to do these things. It all helps. But you know, what irks me the most is when I hear folks like that are in the NASM or the ACE group. You know, we've got a lot of people in these groups now, and I think it's over 30,000 people in the different personal trainer groups that we have. And they say, you know, I passed. now what? Or I passed and not sure. No, don't feel 100% ready. Well, if you don't know Body Design University, that's what Doug and I run. And that's why we exist. Our course is not a certification course. You get your certification by going through our course. That is true, NASM or ACE. But our course is all about creating industry-leading personal trainers. And so basically, that's what we do. We know that certification doesn't make everyone feel ready. And quite frankly, that's why NASM and ACE have partnered with us. And that's why it's such a good fit, is because we do make sure that you're tested and you have an acceptable level of knowledge. And then they are feeling confident because we're going to give you training that they don't provide. They don't make phone calls with you. They don't take you on the floor and do exercise demonstrations. They don't explain how to put together a meal plan for clients. They just don't do that. So we partner together, and that's where we're at. So anyhow, Doug, we are going to continue to help as many personal trainers as we can around this world become successful in personal training. Okay, so the next question comes in from Mayra. Mayra is writing in from California, and she writes, "What should I recommend to a client who wants to gain more muscle?" Well, I tell you what, I want to gain more muscle right now. I've been slacking on my training. I've been slacking on my calorie intake, my protein intake. So
dude, you look great though. Come on.
I should.
No, don't. No, don't.
Where's the
dude,
beach?
what do you?
Okay.
Oh my.
So,
goodness.
Here's the deal. I'll tell you this, Mara, and then Doug is going to like deep dive in some of the science, but it's really pretty simple. I know what I need to do to, I think I'm like right around, I'm 6'2", and I'm really too light right now. But when I get really busy and I've had a lot of other things.
What are you about? 130, 135 right now?
Dude, that's not even funny. Okay. I am probably right now about 175, very light. This is very light for me. I like to be around 195. So 185, truly around 185. So I need to put on about 10 pounds. So let's talk about it. How am I going to do this? And this is what you're going to recommend to your clients, Mayra. Okay. And then Doug, you're going to deep dive for her. Real simple. Make sure that they're taking in the right amount of calories, figure out what their caloric need is. Okay. Measure, their body composition so you could determine their basal metabolic rate, their activity level, and the thermic effect of food. So once you figure out those three things, you could determine what their caloric need is. Once you determine their caloric need, then you can make sure that they have the right ratio of macronutrients, protein, carbs, and fats. And when they're taking in the right calories, the right amount of calories each day, and the right ratio of protein, carbs, and fats, that is the most important. Hands down, nutrition, most important. Number two, got to lift heavy. I know I got to lift heavy. I've been slacking. I got to lift heavy. That's just the reality. Safe and heavy, that's relative to me, right? And to your clients, whatever that looks like for them, but got to lift heavy. I can't be doing 20 reps and 15 reps thinking that I'm going to put on size, stay between, give or take 8 to 12 reps. Okay. So got to lift heavy. And then lastly, got to sleep. Got to sleep. I haven't had any issues with that. So I've been sleeping pretty good for a while now, but I need to lift a little heavier and eat. So Mayra, I just gave you the prescription of what you need to do. So what should I recommend to a client who wants to gain more muscle? Those are the things. Make sure that they take in their calories, make sure that they're taking in the right amount of protein, carbs, and fats, the right ratio. We recommend starting off with a 40, 30, 30. And that's basically the starting point. And then make sure that they're getting enough sleep. Doug, go ahead and drop some bombs for them.
Yeah, I mean, you basically hit on it. It's just a matter now. It's just a matter of diving a little bit deeper into those different elements. The sleep element is pretty straightforward. We know what recovery sleep should look like, anywhere between 7 to 8, depends on the person. So we have that component pretty much down. There's no real scientific, magic with sleep. The nutrition component, of course, anytime we talk about nutrition and the exercise component, we always have to ask the very first question, which is, who is it that you're talking about? When somebody says, I want to gain, lean body mass, the first thing I have to ask is, well, who are we talking about? Are we talking about a person that is clinically obese, or are we talking about a person that's clinically underweight. And that's a term, by the way, clinically underweight.
Use an example of the most common though, Doug.
The most common.
I mean, think about the people that ask to gain weight. Who are the most common? Would you say?
Those are going to be individuals like yourself who, you look and you say, I've been at a certain body weight. I know what I can be, right? You've been close to 200. You've been heavier than 200 pounds. So you know what it's like to be there. Most folks don't. Most folks don't have that experience. So the idea then is that the quote, apparently healthy individual that's simply trying to increase lean body mass with no significant interest in fat mass loss, although that may be part of it, is simply going to go down to what creates the impetus for hypertrophy. And of course, we have to go to resistance training. The assumption is that if we can get the nutritional component, and remember the single most important, because it's all important, is to get protein. Man, that protein issue, dude. How about I mean, isn't that like the most understood, right? The least understood component. The latest research that I just literally read has athletes up to 3.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body mass. That is 2.5 to 3 times higher than what the recommended amount for the average, quote, average person, which is significantly too low. So
hold on, you're making me feel bad about myself. I'm going to be right back. I got something special. Hold on.
Okay. So to continue with the explanation, the concept is that you have to have the impetus for hypertrophy, which is going to be a significant increase in total volume or even intensity, for the most part, intensity of the training. So Corey threw out basic rep ranges, but remember, if I have an individual, the average individual that trains somewhat, I'm simply going to increase both the volume, a little bit of the volume, depending on where their training is at, and make sure that they're training more intensely. And when we talk about intensity, we're talking about percentage of, quote, 1 rep max. Or for us, we simply talk about using heavier loads. Are you drinking a protein shake?
Dude, I mean, yes. And here's a part of the problem is that I have shakes every day. Like I have them. They're in my cooler. I have, I bring in my meal prep, and most of the time I go home and I have shakes that are in here. But I've got my meal prep. Yeah. That's one shake. I got another shake, and then I got
just keep in mind, even those of us that live this lifestyle or attempt to do it on a consistent basis, we have struggles and challenges as well. So the answer is that if you can't do what Corey's, if you can't even get the nutritional component down, for the most part, the training is not going to create significant changes in hypertrophy. There is one, and I always say this, there is one factor though, this huge factor that seems to throw a lot of what we talk about up in the air. And that one factor is your endocrine system, particularly testosterone. So a lot of what we talk about can be sort of thrown off the main path when we talk about an individual's serum and free testosterone levels. So for the average person, we have to be really dialing in their nutrition and their training, because we're not going to change testosterone levels for sure, and we're not going to change the aromatization components of testosterone into estrogen. We're simply not going to change those elements of the endocrine system. So got to get that training.
You're just losing me. Okay, come on.
I'm excited when I talk about this.
All right, low T. Make sure you don't have low T. No, I'm just messing. But so check this out. Most of my clients are the same way, but when they're trying to put on size, usually it's because they're a hard gainer. I'm a hard gainer. It's basically really simple. The genetics are, with some people, you have to work really hard to gain weight and keep on your lean body mass, and others have to work hard to maintain their weight and keep it down. And that's just science. Is really pretty simple. But basically, for hard gainers, if this is somebody, Mayra, that is a hard gainer, a lot of times I have felt where I'm eating so much and I'm having to use the restroom so much, in order to get the nutrients in each day to put on lean muscle. I've used the example before where I feel like I have food in my esophagus right here, and it's time to eat again. Like that's what it takes for me to be at 205. Literally, I'm constantly like, it's just too much. But people will get to figure out what the good weight for them is, and then
Right.
kind of use that. So I hope that answers your question, Mayra. All right, so we've got a question here. Let's see here. Do I need to memorize which actions occur in each plane of motion, or just the definition of each action for the exam? That's a great question. Great
Yeah.
question. So
Just memorize everything.
That's a Doug question.
Just,
Doug, we get this often. And for a lot of the people that are tuning in today, they're still in the study process or the certification process. What is your recommendation on that?
We talk about what is it that you need to memorize, and the way we work it is that from a BDU perspective, we're not asking you to memorize anything that's not going to be irrelevant in training. So we ask students to memorize terminology. So you have to know what the major muscles of the body, what their kinesiological terms are and what they do. So the biceps flex the elbow. You need to know that. For the test or whatever, you have to have a conversation with me as a trainer. I need to talk to you. So when I talk to you, I need to be able to say to you, well, was the client in an externally rotated position at the shoulder? And you look at me and go, I wasn't told to memorize that for the test. No, that doesn't work. Of course not. So you got to memorize basic kinesiology. You got to memorize kinesiological terminology. Okay. Osteokinematics is critical for literally the average trainer. And I don't know any trainer that's worth his or her grain of salt. They know, even if they can't explain the actual, the basic term, they can tell you the bicep flexes or the shoulder does this. Even if you don't memorize the term abduction or adduction, you have to at least be able to explain that to me. It really helps to know the terms. So you need to know what happens in the sagittal plane. You need to know what happens in the frontal plane and the transverse plane. You really should memorize those. If not for just passing an exam, but just you're a trainer. You've got to know those things. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Cool. Thanks for that. So another question we have here, it's looks like a Doug question here too. Can someone please help me understand the difference between the second and third progressions with plyometric exercises?
So
this is coming in from Jennifer.
They're speaking to some of the NASM material, and of course NASM speaks to plyometric type of training. So the different look, I'll make it real simple for you. From a plyometric, or what they call reactive training perspective, the goal is to stage one initially is to be able to develop basic stabilization skills. And ironically enough, this is why they say even older individuals can do plyometric training, and they can. So all those different stages are saying is that you move from one goal point, right? Your goal in stage one, for instance, just as a for instance, is to be able to simply do movement patterns that allow for stabilization. Then the next subsequent stages simply allow for being able to jump down and stabilize, and then do, as they say, progressions into multiplanar movements. Now that hits on what some folks always have issues with, which is progressions and regressions. It's just that in plyometric or reactive training, there's this element of power and the ability to basically, in this case, jump off a box, land, and immediately, as fast as you can, jump from that position. It's called the amortization phase of plyometric training, to go from the eccentric into the amortization, then to the concentric. So, you read through that material and what you start to understand, and it actually gets easy to understand, is that these stages simply take people from being unable to do reactive training skills to getting better at those particular skill sets through those particular stages. Did that make sense?
Yes, it did. It was very complex, but it made all kinds of sense. I hope it did for Who was that? Jennifer. Okay, next question. Let's dive into, we've got a couple business questions. So Steve Hill from Louisville, Kentucky asks, when should I get started with my business and how much should I charge? When should I get started and how much should I charge? Well, that's a big question. When should you get started? Immediately. If anyone is listening to this right now, I don't care if you're certified. I don't care if you're not certified. I don't care if you just get started. Literally, of course, we want you to get trained. We want you to get your certification. Let's imagine that you already have it. He doesn't say here whether or not he does. But when you're asking, like, when you ask the question in your mind, like, when should I get started? That means you should be getting started. That just means that you should be getting started. When you have to ask yourself that question, it's like, when should I get started? What does that mean? Well, you got to collect $1. Just, I don't care, $50, collect $300 revenue. You got to generate revenue. That's how you get started. So you got to get somebody to pay you for your services, and you've got to do that now. You got to do it immediately. Don't sit back and think, when is the right time? My website's not, looking good enough, or I've got to wait for my certification to come in the mail, or I've got to wait until I pass my exam, or now you've been certified for a year. I got to wait until I get my XYZ. Look, there's one thing that we would say you definitely need to have in place before you train anyone. It doesn't require you to collect revenue. You can still do that. But liability insurance, you got to have that in place no matter what. But once you do, get started right away. So when you ask the question, when should I get started? Yesterday. Like, find a client tonight. Get somebody to pay you for 5 sessions, for 10 sessions, for a month, whatever it is. How much should you charge? Well, that really depends. Louisville, Kentucky is a mid-market, is what I call Louisville, a mid-market. And generally speaking, if you're doing one-on-one training, anywhere from $40 to $60 per session as a starting rate would be good. Okay. If you're doing small group training, we're talking about anywhere from $30 to $50 per session, in small group training up to about 5 people. If you're like doing online training, that's totally different. So if you want to come on, clarify, I'd happy to talk to you about that. But in a mid-market, we're seeing those kind of rates, $40 to $60 for one-on-one personal training. Obviously, if you're in a big city, it's going to be much more. If you're in a little podunk, then you can do much less. But I hope that helps. And again, if you want to tell me exactly what type of training that you're doing, I can help nail that down for you. Okay. Doug, was there anything that you wanted to add to that?
No, you nailed it.
All right. Paul Jacob from Corella. Not sure where that is. Paul Jacob from Corella. He is asking, can we build muscles if we are doing cardio in between weight sets rather than before or after workout? And which type of client can benefit from this method? I like this question. It's a great question.
Wow.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's India time zone. So I think Paul, are you from India? I don't see you on here. So we're going to walk through this for you. Again, I'm going to repeat the question for everyone. He is asking, can we build muscles if we are doing cardio in between weight sets rather than before or after workout? And which type of client can benefit from this method?
Interesting.
Doug, I've got a lot for this one, but why don't you go ahead and start that one off and I'll fill in any gaps.
The answer, of course, is yes, and the answer is based on the science of what what creates hypertrophy, or what allows for the hypertrophic effect to occur in muscle tissue. So, yeah, the answer is yes. It depends on the individual, depends on their caloric need, caloric intake, endocrine system parameters, right? So test level, things like that. I think the question is kind of framed in a way to see what variables might affect hypertrophy, which is going to be cardio training. And the answer, of course, is yes, you can build muscle when you do cardio training. When you do that cardio training, not sure it has that much of an effect, but yeah, significant muscle mass hypertrophy can occur if the training is done properly.
Yeah. So to add to that, thanks for that, Doug, is can we build muscles if we're doing cardio in between the weight training? Right? Yes, I've done this for many, many years, Paul. Who can benefit from it? Everyone, pretty much. But let me just tell you, if it's a hard gainer and you're doing that, probably not going to be the best or the most ideal way to gain muscle, because that cardio is going to burn a lot of calories. It's going to be hard for them to put on the muscle. It just really is. Now, this is more like, it's just like HIIT training. You're just like high intensity interval training. What you're doing here, where we like to call them cardio bursts. So you're doing like a weight training set, then you're doing a cardio burst, getting the heart rate up, then you're bringing it back down, doing a weight training set, then you're bringing the heart rate. So I love this style of training. Generally speaking, I will always do cardio at the end of the workout, primarily because when we're doing weight training, the primary source of energy that we're going to use is glycogen as a source of energy while we're doing the weight training. The goal would be, that we burn and deplete a majority of the glycogen through the weight training and with some of these cardio bursts. Then at the very end of the weight training, do cardio specific exercises with the goal that you've depleted most of your glycogen, and now your body, because your heart rate is up and elevated in an aerobic state, you can use fat more as a source of energy. Look, I've trained clients on a program like this where we're doing that type of system, some type of HIIT training, but then cardio after the weight training, and have had great success with helping clients lose body fat and gain muscle. So I hope that answers your question. Again, you ask which type of client could benefit from that. Primarily somebody that wants to lose body fat, primarily somebody that wants to lose weight. But with that being said, hard gainers can do it too. But generally speaking, people that want to lose body fat,
there's a sort of general rule, and of course, many years back we would joke about it, but for hard gainers, individuals that were always trying, their main focus was to gain lean body mass, we would kind of make fun. Don't walk if you can sit. Don't run if you can walk. The goal is keep your caloric expenditure down to a minimum wherever possible, to ensure that there's enough caloric input to ensure, again, anabolism. So anabolism is what's related to hypertrophy, and that's an input of energy. So catabolism, if you all know these terms, catabolism is when large molecules are broken down into smaller molecules, and that's an exothermic reaction. That's going to release energy. It's a lot simpler for the body to go through catabolism, i.e. breaking down fat, right? So triglycerides. So you get the idea? That's why it's always, people ask this question all the time, don't they? Which is easier, losing fat or gaining muscle? Well, metabolically, it's a lot easier to lose fat because it's a catabolic reaction. So catabolism is relatively simple, easy for the body to go through. Anabolism is a significantly different energy balance equation that we look at for getting amino acids to build into proteins, right? Versus taking triglycerides and breaking them down into free fatty acids. So
yeah, and listen, Paul. One thing I could tell you for sure is you don't want to do is don't do the cardio before the weight training. All the science points in a different direction.
Yeah,
so
that's a no-go.
Always do cardio. You could blend it in with your weight training or do it after the weight training, but do not do the cardio. Do not have your clients do cardio before they do the weight training. Now, don't get this confused with a warm-up. Every client should be doing a warm-up anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes to get the blood flowing. That's just a warm-up, and then go into the the stretching and then the weight training, but always the weight training first. And then the cardio at the end for sure. No question about it.
Yeah. And the idea of doing any extraneous movements, exercise, whatever, during the resistance training, again, doesn't really make a lot of sense, because your goal during the resistance training, if you're training for maximal hypertrophy, is to provide enough rest in between your sets to allow specifically the fast twitch fibers to to kind of recover so you can hit them again, basically. And so the idea is that getting on the bike, like I'll do, for instance, in between a set of bench presses or something like that, I'm doing that because I'm not interested in gaining lean body mass per se. I want to actually increase cardiorespiratory fitness. So anything done during a lean body mass focused gaining type of training scenario should not have any extraneous movements, because now I'm tired. Now I can't I can't exert maximal effort for my particular resistance training movements. So
yeah. Okay, Jacob, I hope that helps. Guys, we have time for just a couple more questions. If you're tuning in right now and you've got a question, click on the link, join the Zoom, go into the chat. If you're in this meeting now, thanks for being here. You could raise your hand if you have a question. We'll get to it before we wrap up here in just a minute. Raymond Johnson is from New York, is asking about which payment processing to use. So it's a great question. Great question, Raymond. Some people don't realize that, being successful in personal training has a lot to do with just some of the basic business mechanics. And so with that being said, if you're out there, look, I told you need to get started. I don't care if somebody hands you cash or a $50 bill. You just need to get started. But in order to run a successful business and an efficient personal training business, you do have to have an operating system. You can't be doing this PayPal, Cash App, Venmo. That's just not going to fly. If you want to, be a bill collector or billing agent, then do that and scale your business, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And for the trainers out there that are listening that have done that, they know the pain and what that's like. And so this is going to resonate for them. It's really simple. Let's just say you have 20 clients, okay? 20 clients that are all paying you whatever, $500. You're billing out 10 grand a month. Let's just say, just for easy numbers. Now, if I've got 20 clients, and generally speaking, clients like to pay for a month at a time. And usually that should be a reoccurring scenario. Let me ask you this. Do you think it makes sense to have a system in place where they sign an agreement that's month to month? You don't lock them into any long-term agreement, but they sign an agreement and they agree to get billed on the same day each month. And then for you, you've got agreements with all 20 of your clients that are paying you X, Y, Z, and you know what your projection report, your billing is going to be for the next 30 days. Unless, of course, somebody gives you notice to cancel, and we allow our customers 7 days. So as long as they give a 7-day notice, we'll cancel so they're not billed for their next month. But you know what's coming in, and it's going to be billed. Now, are there some clients that, there might be a decline payment? Sure. You have to go to them, or some that cancel. Sure. But let's just say that that's 5 out of the 20 every month. So you've got 15 payments that are automatically going through, and you've got 5 people that you need to address. Or do PayPal or Venmo or Cash App, and you're going to go to every one of those clients, every 20 clients, and you're going to address them and say, hey, it's time to up your sessions, and hey, it's time for your billing, and it's stop the madness. It is 2021. We don't run our businesses like that anymore. We just don't. And to start off, look, do whatever you need to do, but you cannot do that for long. And I don't recommend starting that way, because you can create a mess. And for those of you that are listening, I know you know what I'm talking about. You get started and you've got because remember, there's 2 parts of a transaction. In accounting, it's really simple. There's a credit and there's a debit. If you're doing PayPal, Venmo, Cash App, you're tracking one part of the transaction. Well, the other part are the sessions. And you want a system that talks, that says they paid for 8 sessions and they've used 4. Well, if you're tracking the sessions separately on a calendar, or on a spreadsheet, or on a notepad, there's no way to scale that kind of business. And next thing you know, you're spending so much more time, doing other things versus serving clients. So with all that being said, operating system, there's tons of them out there. Just Google search personal training software. I'm biased, okay, because I own and operate a personal training software company. It's called Body Design Operating Systems. You could check it out, bodydesignos.com. It is a software for personal trainers where you can track not only your calendar, but both parts of the transaction. So when you're doing the billing, it's just reoccurring billing, and the money just flows right to your business or your personal account. But there's tons of them out there. So go look at all the different options out there. But you definitely, Raymond, you definitely want to have an operating system to process your payments.
So you're not recommending the card file with the 3x5 index cards and using a pencil no?
It's funny, Doug. I know that's exactly how you used to do it. And quite frankly, I've been in this game long enough that when I started in 1999, that is exactly what we had. We had the 3x5 index card boxes with all the clients. And every time they came in at the end of the session, we'd bring them over to the index card box. We'd search for their name alphabetically. Yep. We'll pull the card out. They would initial. And then once they used all their sessions, we'd say, okay, it's time to pay. And they would write a check. They weren't doing credit cards like that back then. And so, but yeah, today you got to be high tech. And look, the reality is that it's not difficult. We don't have to make it more complex, and it's really not difficult, but you need an operating system if you want to compete in this game. Guys, it's 3:00. This is going to conclude our personal trainer talk. Real quick, as a reminder, thank you for all your questions this week. We'll be here again next week, Wednesday, 2 p.m. If you go to Body Design U, as in university, bodydesignu.com/ASK, you can ask your question, participate next week. We'd love to have you. Thank you for everyone that's logged in here with us and all the feedback that we received. We really appreciate that. Just another reminder, the thumb drive promotion that we have where you get your website, landing page, and the ads, that is ending this week. But if you enroll in Body Design University this week, you do still get the thumb drive, a huge value. And then lastly, personal training certification course live in September 13th, 2 weeks straight. Try to be here. It is just an incredible experience. A lot of trainers. It's going to a whole lot of learning. And that's really it. Doug, anything you want to leave them with for this week?
Yeah, no, that's about it. That live course is going to be, it's going to be a lot of fun.
I'm looking forward to it. I remember that you told me a couple of weeks ago, you said, hey, Corey, did you know that everyone is from out of state? Sometimes we have a few more people from Georgia, but mostly, we've got people coming in from literally all over now. And it's just a great experience for learning, personal growth and development. Yeah. And so be a part of it. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to log off now. Doug and Corey, Body Design University, Personal Trainer Talk. Have a great week, and we'll see you next Wednesday at 2 p.m. Bye.
See ya.